Welcome to Chai Pe Kharcha, where we have conversations on personal finance among four NRI professionals working at tech firms. Think of these like water cooler chats you have at the office. Only this time, you will have Ishan, Madhvesh, Rohit, and Siddharth as colleagues you will be listening into. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. We are not financial experts. The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Always consult with a qualified financial professional if you need financial advice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another freshly brewed episode of Chai Pe Kharcha. We have Ishan, Siddharth, and myself, Rohit, today, and we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, which has been a bit of a headache for me. कि यार, as a NRI, आप travel कैसे plan कर? It's a question I struggle with often. And Siddharth, Ishan, I would love to hear your thoughts today. कि let me tell you कि what are the things I struggle with, right? मैं यहाँ रह रहा हूँ अभी सिंगापुर में, ठीक है? माय फैमिली, माय पेरेंट्स, एवरीवन इज़ इन इंडिया। छुट्टियाँ लिमिटेड हैं। आई वांट टू ट्रैवल अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, लाइक साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में मेरे को बाली वगैरह जाना है या व्हाटएवर, वियतनाम जाना है, बट एट द सेम टाइम मेरे को घर भी जाना है। एट द सेम टाइम आई वांट टू ट्रैवल विद माय पेरेंट्स एंड आई वांट टू ट्रैवल विद माय इन-लॉज़ एंड देन आई वांट टू ट्रैवल इन इंडिया ऑल्सो, क्योंकि हर समय सबको लेके इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवल इज़ टू मच एक्सपेंसिव। तो काफ़ी कंफ्यूजिंग सा सिचुएशन रहता है एंड लाइक व्हाटएवर वी एंड अप डूइंग, नॉट एवरीबॉडी इज़ ऑलवेज़ हैप्पी। कोई ना कोई उसको लेके देयर इज़ ऑलवेज़ सम व्हिच इज़ मिसिंग। सो आई नो दैट यू गाइज़ आर इन डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ एक्सपर्टीज़, इफ आई हैव टू से, इन टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रैवल। प्लस आई थिंक लाइफ स्टेज के हिसाब से भी यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस ट्रैवलिंग किड्स और स्पाउसेस, in-laws family, your own family. So I wanted to see how you guys think about this topic, and hopefully people who are listening to this episode will also be able to pick up some interesting tips and tricks. Siddharth, let me first come to you. General,
So,
what has been your experience of organizing your travel, or how do you think about it in general? How do you plan for it?
right. So it's a difficult topic, as you said. वही दिक्कतें मुझे भी हैं. How I've over time, how I've started thinking about it, because one of the things that for me is important, as you mentioned, कि parents के साथ especially, I want to travel as much as possible, पर अभी both of them are retired and as you said, I have limited leaves. It's not always easy to do it. So I'll touch on that topic first. Okay, what I do there is in times when I can coordinate the travel, I try to do it. But because I want them also to travel and not become a bottleneck, I have tried to find out organizations, travel agencies which support travel for senior citizens. And that helps. So one of the reasons that they want to travel with me and I want to accompany them in their travels is कि उनके लिए traveling to newer places, especially overseas, can be challenging क्योंकि खाने का issue रहता है. In some cases टेक्नोलॉजी भी आ जाती है क्योंकि आप अगर कोई जगह जा रहे हो जहाँ इंग्लिश नहीं बोली जाती तो गूगल ट्रांसलेट वगैरह यूज़ करना पड़ता है. That becomes difficult for them. So there are travel agencies that help with senior citizen travel, and I have been scouting those. That's travel with parents. In general, travel because I'm married and I have a kid also. अभी तक बच्चे की स्कूल वैसी स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं हुई कि उसकी स्कूल की छुट्टियों के लिए रुकना पड़े. पर या वाइफ का भी छुट्टियां देखनी पड़ती हैं
Of
टू
course.
प्लान फॉर। पर हाँ, यानी वन थिंग दैट आई हैव नॉट बीन गुड एट, एंड आई
Hmm.
नो अ फ्यू फ्रेंड्स हु हैव बीन, इज traveling, booking travel way in advance, like six,
Okay.
8 months in advance.
Hmm.
वो क्या करते हैं कि irrespective of whether they know they'd be free at that time or not, they just book travel.
Okay.
And that's cheap because with the advance में कर रहे हो, uh, invariably it also becomes a forcing function कि भाई बुक तो कर दिया है
हाँ,
और कभी ना
कुछ
कभी
भी
तो
जुगाड़
कर
करके
जाना ही
रेडी।
है। हाँ, तो you just then organize everything to meet that travel date.
Interesting.
वो दैट्स अ गुड आइडिया ऑल्सो। पर हाँ, आई हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स।
How do you split your time between traveling to India, just ऐसे जो होता है ना कि यार घर जाना है, वर्सेस
राइट।
ट्रैवलिंग कि यार चलो सब लोग मिलके किसी नई जगह पे, न्यू कंट्री, न्यू सिटी, लेट्स एक्सप्लोर सम। हाउ डू यू स्प्लिट योर टाइम?
इन आइडियल सिनेरियो यू जस्ट क्लब बोथ ऑफ देम,
ओके।
कि यू ट्रैवल टू इंडिया एंड ट्रैवल टू इंडिया में भी काफ़ी अच्छी अच्छी जगह हैं देखने के लिए, या
हम्म।
अगर आप बाहर भी जा रहे हो तो आप पैसे अरेंज करो कि पेरेंट्स के साथ जा रहे हो और वाइफ की भी छुट्टियाँ वही टाइम पे आ जाए। पर नो गुड आंसर। जनरली व्हाट आई हैव डन, अगेन नॉट अ गुड आंसर, बट व्हाट आई हैव डन इज, अगर कोई जगह एकदम ही, एंड दैट्स नॉट बुकिंग वेल इन एडवांस बट एड हॉक इंस्टिंक्टिव बुकिंग जो बोलते हैं, पर ऑफ द मोमेंट थिंग,
ओके।
वेर जिस थिंक किया जाए अगले 2 हफ्ते में लेट्स गो टू जापान या लेट्स गो टू वियतनाम, लेट्स गो टू समवेयर, एंड यू जस्ट एंड अप गोइंग फॉर द ट्रैवल बिट देयर। ट्रैवलिंग टू इंडिया तो ऐसा है कि यू जस्ट रेगुलराइज ही हो गया मेरे लिए। आई ट्रैवल वेरी ऑफन, every 6 months at least, if not more. I
ओके।
try to go.
I know you have a bit of a travel bug. You've heard stories of your travel adventures. Care to throw some light on how you generally think and organize your time around travel? Any tips, things to do, things not to do? And how does your different like family dynamics, how does that play into how you think about organizing your travel?
So for me, travel is almost as an essential part of surviving through the year. थोड़ा
Okay.
after every few weeks, months, I feel like कहीं चलते हैं, कुछ करते हैं. Like it's sitting in one place is too annoying for me,
Right.
and that's also honestly something me and my wife bond on. So हम दोनों को ही same problem है that itch comes
Okay.
every few weeks. कहीं गए
Okay.
नहीं पाते. So the way it used to be before when I was single, जब अकेले बाहर रह रहा था, most of my travel used to be since I was in Singapore, would be in and around Singapore, जो मैं अकेले करूँगा, and my big holiday because I was in the bank, so we used to get these 2 weeks off that we were forced to take. तो वो 2 हफ्ते I would go back to India. कि I have to come back and spend time with family. But obviously over time life has evolved and these plans have evolved and the number of holidays have also changed. So now there's some amount of structure which my wife brings in. कि किस तरह से plan करना है. So we have essentially divided this, like we try and do like one holiday a quarter. I'll try and keep it simple. तो अगर उसमें ऐसे करना है तो we have one holiday which is going to be a slightly longer holiday that we take, where we go a little further away from where we live. Europe जाएंगे, even going to say Japan is a long flight and you want
Right.
to do it due justice, don't want to come back in like 3-4 days. So we'll try and do like a 8-10 day holiday or maybe even 2 weeks depending on where we're going. So that will be one holiday, and that, like Sid was saying, we need to plan in advance. तो उसका हम इस तरह से करते हैं कि we try and pick a time which is not super expensive. That is the December Christmas time where everyone is traveling somewhere and flights and hotels get super, super expensive. So we try and do it towards the end of Q3 before Q4 starts, or early Q4. just before the holiday season, really kicks in, but also when you can probably find good deals in a lot of places, and the weather tends to be good. You're just on the cusp of winter in a lot of places, and or go to some place in fall, which is also very pretty. So वो एक consideration रहता है. So that's the holiday we try and plan a few months in advance. And then the India trip tends to happen in Q4, which is when everyone else is traveling. बाकी जगह पे we come to India. Now the interesting dynamic here for me is that my in-laws are in a different city. So me and my wife have to really plan this in a way that we are doing justice and spreading time. So we try. So we have to do that through the year, not just for that India trip. So हम क्या करते हैं, we try and make sure कि जैसे if you're coming back to India, recently what has helped us is you can work from home, you can work from different places. So we sometimes will take some time and come back to India and be working from here. तो फिर अगर 2 हफ्ते के लिए इंडिया भी आ गए साथ में, तो you can work 1 week from मेरे घर से 1 week from my in-laws place. Or what we do sometimes, and this probably is a trick, especially for people living in Southeast Asia, closer to India. When we've tried booking flights, especially to Europe or to the US, a lot of times the flight from India is significantly cheaper than if you would directly from, say, Singapore or somewhere else. So we have even done this where we've come to India, spent 3 days in India, and then taken the flight from India to go somewhere. And then on the way back, we come back to a different location in India. So we'll go to, मेरा घर जाते हुए और वापसी में we'll go to my in-laws place. And then again take the flight back to Singapore. So वो 4-5 दिन ऐड हो जाते हैं उसकी वजह से. But you also get to meet everyone, so you can say, I think. For trips, apart from that, like I said, when you come work from India or when you're taking holiday and coming to India, for trips in India, I prefer to do that with, our parents, or whether it's my parents or your parents, depending on which city we're going to. So those we'll plan something with them. So our parents are also retired, so we can pick them up and take them kahin pe bhi when we want to. My parents at least are not very keen to travel internationally unless they're coming to visit me. So that kind of solves one issue of, I also want to show them the world. बहुत बार कोशिश की है. I would be very interested to learn from Sid on the organizations that help these senior citizen travels, but they don't seem keen unless I am with them the entire time, which is very difficult to do. So most of the time, they'll end up coming to Singapore. And then if we have to do something, we'll go over a weekend somewhere while I'm free to Hong Kong dekh liya, Bali dekh liya. But that's the kind of thing that's happened.
Let me circle back to a personal finance connection to this entire topic, which is how do you budget for travel, and how do you, if you have like big travel goals, right? Like a lot of personal finance advice is like, yeah, you should have goals and then you should have a mechanism to build towards those goals. So how do you think about your travel expenses in the short and long term? Like, is there a thing कि अरे 10 साल बाद हम 6 months sabbatical लेके वर्ल्ड टूर करना है तो उसके लिए मेरे को 25 लाख रुपए चाहिए तो ऐसा ऐसा सेव करेंगे? Or is it more like a super ad hoc thing कि ठीक है, based on whatever we are earning, we'll just be able to afford that travel whenever we want to? How do you guys think about your expenses related to travel?
Yeah, I think it's a Ishan question.
Okay.
Hello, Ishan. You should answer this.
So for me, because my travel expenses have grown significantly over the years, I would honestly say travel is my second or third largest expense after rent and food through the year. So it's पहले add up होता था when I was single. इतना planning नहीं करनी पड़ती थी. तो जब मन किया उठली कहीं चलती. But now it is obviously you have to plan these things. You have to book some trips in advance. You need to make sure your expenses aren't going haywire. So हमने something I had mentioned quite early in one of our conversations. Just like we have an expense account, we've designated one of my wife's savings account as our travel expense account. It's a completely separate expense category that we've kept. तो उसके अंदर हम हर महीने भी consciously transfer money. both of us, so that that corpus keeps building up. And then what has happened is we've obviously saved more than we spend. We don't obviously want to spend everything that we've saved. So धीरे-धीरे करके that budget has been rolling over through the years, and we've built up on that money also. So there is some money that's left. So that has helped with this. कभी ये suddenly long weekend आके तुमने सोचा नहीं था कि long weekend travel करना है, but now you really want to. So that is when that excess that you've saved helps, because those time कुछ expensive भी होता है. Or you need to suddenly come back to India for something, some emergency. You don't have to worry about it. But it is a conscious decision because we know that the travel is quite expensive. So one of the good parts, and this is purely from a financial perspective, being in a country like Singapore for us, most of the countries around us, when we go, we have the benefit of being with a stronger currency. So when you convert your dollars into any of the local currencies in other countries, it appears that you have much more money than you do. So it is easier than convert karne mein and then going to these places. Obviously, if you're going to a different country, like if I was to travel very frequently from here to Europe every time, the euro is not that favorable for me. So हर बार करता रहूंगा तो I'll obviously end up spending way more. So ये चीज थोड़ा देखनी पड़ती है कि जो excess money to spend कर रहे हैं कहाँ spend कर.
Makes sense. And in terms of percentages, how much do you put in your travel account monthly, you and your wife combined?
About 5%.
5%. Okay.
Like over a year, it adds up to a significant amount.
It's not like an investment account.
No,
it's just
I mean, we end up spending most of it. So you need that liquidity. You need to pay a credit card.
Got it. Cool. And then one, I think, last question on this topic would be, since you mentioned currency conversion, any tricks that you guys use to maximize the value of currency conversion wherever you're traveling?
So one thing that I have used, and this is not an ad, just that it's a product I have used. So and because I was working at Citibank before, so Citibank has this product called the Global Wallet, and this is not unique. A lot of companies have it. It's just that it allows you to open foreign currency accounts on the go. So you can just open a foreign currency account on your app, or जब भी तुम्हें you want to convert money into that foreign currency, it happens like instantaneously. So as long as you have a balance in your account, you can convert it to that. The benefit of it is if you need that currency overseas, our normal debit card allows you to withdraw in that currency directly. So तुम्हें FX charge नहीं लगता उसको. Similar to how Forex cards work. Just that the way this thing helps me is if, for example, my October Europe trip in say June, then between June and October, I can keep waiting to see there's a dip in the euro price, and I can buy it then and keep it in my wallet there, and then I can withdraw it when I'm there, and I can also, if I run out of say cash while I'm overseas, it helps me. It doesn't work on all currencies, so there are, I think, a certain set of currencies it works on, but that one has been quite useful for me.
I personally don't use Citi, but in the last couple of trips, what I've used is Revolut. I think it works very similar to what you explained. It's basically a online wallet, and it comes with a debit card attached to the account. You can connect your wallet to a bank account. And then what I typically do is, because I have a Singapore dollar bank account here, so I'll just upload some money into the wallet, and then within the app, I can immediately convert it into whatever currency is available at nearly spot rates, I would say. मतलब Google rate के काफी आसपास ही रहता है, उसके अंदर instantly convert, and then I'll just pay using the card. Or that's what I've done in the last 2 trips. That's what I've tried, and it has worked decently well.
Couple of other tips and tricks that I have learned over the years. One is it sometimes helps if you don't have, say, a Revolut card, where I know rates generally tend to be really good. But if you're still someone who wants to take foreign currencies in there, it sometimes helps if you take a slightly larger chunk of money from your bank, but you need to go to the branch and then negotiate with them on the rate that and they can do that. So if you have uh, a reasonable balance with your bank, where you're not your base member of the bank, and you go there and you go ask them for a rate, they can negotiate with their treasury on a real time basis and give you a good rate. So ये होता है in case someone wants to try that out. The second thing is, and this is a very, I'm sure most people know it, but just in case someone does not, if you're using your credit card for overseas transactions, please always pay in the local currency of the country you're in. Because the difference you there when you're paying, say you're in the US and you're paying in US dollars. If you pay in Singapore dollars there, then the bank which is accepting your credit card, they do the FX and they have no incentive to give you a good rate. But if you pay in US dollars there, then the FX is done by your home bank, जिसका तुम्हारा credit card, and they have an incentive to give you a good rate because they don't want to obviously have their customer get angry. So I have seen very, very significant differences in the FX rates if you pay in the home currency versus the currency you're traveling to. So always pay in the currency of the country you're in. That does help.
How do you control for that? Because what I have done in the past, if I have used credit card, which is very rare, I just tap it on their terminal and whatever transaction happens. I don't know which bank is.
For most transactions, if you're tapping, it will happen in the local currency. If they insert the card and they ask you, they'll give you the option of what currency you want to pay.
Okay.
So but I mean, see, and especially for e-commerce transactions, also if you're buying something online, like when you're reserving hotels, etc., and you're giving your credit card, at that time they'll ask you which currency you want to pay this. So just make sure you're paying in the local currency because that actually helps.
Okay. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing. Cash कितना लेके जाते हैं? Like hard cash?
Actually, this is a very good question, and maybe Ishan can give a good answer. Because I have, in a recent trip to Vietnam, I struggled with it. I thought, यार क्यों कैश फालतू कैरी करो, कार्ड में हो जाएगा, कार्ड में थे मेरे. पर when and I think it depends on the geography you're going to. वहाँ कोई तैयार ही नहीं है कार्ड यूज करने को. And we didn't go to a major city. We went to a smaller city. The thing of managing that cash during at the exact time of paying a vendor becomes a big hassle. So yeah, Ishan, we can give us a framework how much cash to carry.
See, I generally carry cash from here, which I would need for immediate expenses after I land there. Because I prefer spending on the credit card purely to earn points. But cash, the reason I spoke about that debit card thing, and I think Rohit might be able to also agree with this. If you're carrying that debit card with you, though, what you can then do is you're able to withdraw cash from any ATM there because debit cards should ideally work on any ATM. And the FX rate you'll get because you've already done the FX and you already have a linked bank account in the local currency. So कोई FX का तुम्हें issue नहीं होगा, कोई fees नहीं लगेगी उसके ऊपर. So which is why it's good to spend on these forex cards, but also you can withdraw money from these cards, which is useful.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining on another episode of Chai Pe Kharcha. I hope this was useful and fruitful and insightful for you, and then we'll be back with another one very, very soon.